Iran, opposition leaders are planning to once again defy the government. They are attending a memorial for those who lost their lives in the country's post-election turmoil. The most prominent name on that list is that of 26-year-old Nahlah Ayed Sultan. She was shot during a riot in Tehran in June. The video of her death shocked the world. Today's memorial is being held at the cemetery where she is buried, and that's where we'll pick up the story now with our Nahlah Ayed.
Lucy, it's been 40 days since Nahlah Ayed Sultan died, and she was, as you mentioned, a music student who happened to be near the protests in the company of her music teacher when she was shot in the chest and died. It was a death that was captured on cell phone video, and as you mentioned, seen by millions around the world, and it was condemned by many people. Even U.S. President Barack Obama said he was moved by what happened to her. She also became a powerful symbol for the protesters themselves. And you might recall at the time there were lots of protests going on and lots of clashes going on, and the family was prevented from publicly mourning her, and she was buried quietly in private. Now, as is tradition in Islam, the plan is to mark the 40th day after her death to remember her, but if the plan actually goes ahead, this will not be an ordinary 40th day commemoration. It will, in fact, be a silent vigil of perhaps thousands, perhaps more, of people who will finally get a chance to pay their respects in public for Nahlah and for the at least 10 other people who died on that day, June 20th. The opposition movement had asked for permission to hold a memorial for her, but actually at a mosque, not at the cemetery. But the government refused the request. So instead, the opposition will have the gathering. It will be at the cemetery where Nahlah and other protesters are buried. And we understand that at the invitation of Nahlah's mother, both the main defeated candidates, Mir Hossein Mousavi and Mehdi Karoubi, will be attending. And, of course, this is all in defiance of the government, which has banned all opposition protests and has gone to great lengths to put them down.
And, Nahlah, what is happening with the people who were detained during those protests?
Well, there are still hundreds who are in prison as far as we know. Of course, we don't know the exact number because of the restrictions on media activity in Iran. There have been many calls on the government to release those detainees, especially because there have been reports of mistreatment, even abuse, in some of the prisons where they've been held. Now, we have been told by officials that 140 detainees were released from prison the day before yesterday, and the government actually says it's planning on releasing more detainees tomorrow. And, you know, there has been a lot of pressure on the government to do something about the detainees, especially in light of these reports of abuse.
And that was Nahlah Ayed in Beirut reporting for us. And we're just learning at this moment that, in fact, hundreds of those protesters and people who wanted to remember those who lost their lives had gathered in the cemetery. There was a large police presence there to meet them, and they immediately began to start dispersing the crowd. And then the latest report is that police have now started arresting the mourners, and we'll keep you up to date as we get more information. As you know,